Alongside me, Micheal Atherton. Welcome, Michael. Thank you so much for your time. It is always, as always, greatly appreciated. The wonderful thing about Brendan McCullum, amongst many wonderful things, is that he makes it sound so simple, doesn't he?
Well, it's been an amazing partnership that he's developed with Ben Stokes, really. What a decision it was from Rob Key to partner Brendan McCullum with Ben Stokes, and really the catalyst for this unbelievable turnaround that we've seen in England's Test team. They both seem, as captain and coach, the kind of people that you'd want to play under and play for. And that is all part of, I'm sure, what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about selection, but also managing the talent within the team. If you look at lots of the players who've come in under Stokes and McCullum, they've had almost immediate success. We saw Tom Hartley last week, Rayan Ahmed, who took wickets, 5-wicket haul in Karachi on his debut. Josh Tong was the previous debutant before Tom Hartley. He took 5 wickets against Ireland. Matt Potts, the same before that. So lots of young players coming in. And Will Jacks, 6 for. So they're having immediate success, which is testament A to the selection, but also the management of the talent within the team.
The selection is extraordinary. That's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And like I said, Brendan McCullum makes it sound so simple. I mean, in my career, Pakistan have done that, haven't they? They've got a record of liking the look of a young lad who's a net bowler and then saying, actually, do you fancy playing in the Test match? I'm exaggerating slightly, but Wasim Akram and Waqar Younis were both fast track, weren't they? But as far as English cricket is concerned, I mean, there might be a couple of outliers over the previous 5 or 6 decades, but for the most part, the journey to the Test team has been formulaic. You've got to play X number of seasons and prove yourself over.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, the selectors, English selectors, have long had a reputation for conservatism, but I'm not quite sure how accurate that is. I mean, we've often picked players young. Myself, I was 21 when I played for England. I was a month out of university and pretty clueless, didn't know what I was doing. Nasser Hussain was the same age, 21. Mark Ramprakash, the same. So even going back to the start of my career, I don't think the selectors were ever afraid of pushing young players in.
I would say you were the outliers.
I don't know. I think the reputation for conservatism is a little unfair, but clearly what's happened on this tour and in the last 12 or 18 months is taking it another stage further. You've got Rayan Ahmed picked on the back of 3 first-class games. Shoaib Bashir before this game had just, played half a dozen games and had taken 10 wickets at an average of 67. So that's taking things on a stage. And they've the words that Brendan McCullum used there. He said educated punt, and it's a little bit of both. It is. There's always an element of subjectivity. They've seen something they liked and they've taken a punt with that. But it is also based, there's a lot of reason, and when he says educated punt, it's because, there's firm things that they like, and in particular with Hartley and Bashir, what they like is the height and pace from which they bowl. They feel that, looking at India over the last 10 years, the bowlers who've done well here are tall spinners who drive the ball into the surface. And that's what they like with Hartley and Bashir. Didn't the young man bowl really well this morning? I thought terrific start for him.
It was the reversal of the traditional approach to selection that I found so fascinating in your article a couple of days ago in the Times, where you said that selectors used to look at players and then ways in which they could fit them into the team, rather than now looking at the requirements of the team and then looking around to see which players might be able to provide that, and not being...
Yeah, it's a bit backward looking if you want to term it that way. In the old days, I'm going back 30 years when I captained England, because there were no tools at your disposal, really. The only tools you had were the county championship averages and then your own eyes, what you'd seen and what you liked. And there were some scouts. I think from memory, when I started captaining England, we had 3 or 4 scouts. But you'll remember that, none of the domestic games were or could be televised at this stage. So the selectors were very, very hamstrung. You know, one might say, well, I fancy going and watching, I don't know, say John Morris at Derbyshire this week, and he'd turn up one day and Morris would be in the field all day. And, you know, now every ball is televised, or at least there are set cameras, you know, fixed cameras at either end. So everything is televised. The selectors can just sit at home and see every ball of every county game. So the tools at the selectors' disposal now are just of a different magnitude than what they were. And they've taken things a stage on. So the umpires in county cricket now carry these little mobile cameras, and they call it iHawk technology. And it's amazing what it shows. You know, every bowler, every ball bowled, they'll be able to see the pace of it, for one. So for the first time in county cricket now, you've got a sense of what speeds bowlers are bowling at, whereas you used to really just have to take a guess. You'd say, oh, he looks quick. Now they've got, you know, empirical evidence. And you can work out who's delivering from the highest points, for example, and Bashir and Hartley would deliver from very high points in county cricket. Look at accuracy and movement. Every ball, you've got, you know, millions of data points really throughout the season. And that just enables them to take a bit more of an informed punt, to use Brendan McCullum's word. And you're right, what they're doing now is saying, what does the team need? What do you need in these conditions? Whereas in the past, we might have, you know, got the averages out and said, right, who are the best 11 players in England from county cricket? Whereas now, because county cricket is played, the championship I'm talking about is played particularly at the start and the end of the season, in terms of spin, which is clearly the key requirement here in India, it makes it very difficult to just use, say, county averages in terms of spinners. You know, I could give you 7 or 8 young spinners who probably got a better record in championship cricket than Shoaib Bashir and Tom Hartley last year, but the selectors like certain aspects of their game, and they felt or feel it will fit well to conditions here in India. And so far, early days, who knows what will happen by the end of the tour, but, you know, Tom Hartley's 7 wickets on debut was a vindication of that approach.